Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for being here. I hope that the information I share with you is going to be helpful to you in recognizing where your power is. I'm all about empowerment and helping people realize their power. We're all very powerful beings. The extent of how much we express this power will depend on how much we're holding ourselves back. My job as an intuitive is to channel information that will help you to know your mind. The more you know your mind, the more you are in your own power. If you don't know your mind very well, then you are much more easily to be manipulated. And that is true for everyone. So thank you so much for being here. If you find this information useful or helpful, I would love for you to share this channel with somebody else who you believe might benefit from this information. My team, my spirit team, my guides, and I would be very, very grateful for that. The more people know their power, the more people can realize their power. And that is a beautiful thing. For those of you who are returning, thank you so much for coming back. Again, without you, I wouldn't do this. And I love what I do for the most part. I have my own demons. But yes, for the most part, I love when I channel. It just makes me feel, can I say, at home. So before we go to the messages today, and it's a very important portal that is opening up or has opened up whenever you are listening to this, which is the one on March 29th. It's new moon, but it's also a solar eclipse. And I believe it's a partial solar eclipse. And this particular alignment is all about breaking old cycles. And we are all collectively moving towards living our life to the fullest and expressing ourselves to the fullest by letting go of old karmic limiting beliefs and old cycles. And we are essentially becoming much freer individuals, much more independent individuals to express what we want to experience. And that's a bit of a code right there, channeled code. So we will see in the messages what that really means. But my guides have been on me about this for a while, and they kept encouraging me to do a breathwork session for people who have not tried breathwork session or who just want to have a breathwork session with me online, because it's an amazing way of expressing and processing our emotions. And collectively, we are moving through a lot of processing, where a lot of feelings and emotions are coming up to the surface. And those need to be processed, not suppressed or oppressed, but processed. And breath work is an incredible way to process stagnant energies and limiting an emotion, basically to process energy from the body. So if you are new to breathwork and you would like to try it, offering a session on April 18th for a very low fee, $9.99. It's way less expensive than I've ever offered it. So I'm making it affordable pretty much for everybody. So if you're interested, there's a link down below. It is going to be live, and I will be the one facilitating the breathwork. And in all of the breathwork sessions that I've done, amazing things happen. So we will have some time to chat after the session to share your experiences if you would like. So if you are interested in having a breathwork session with me, there's a link right down below. You can register. And again, it's on April 18th, which is a Good Friday, which is, I feel, a good day for most people, because maybe not most, but many people will have a day off from work. So if you're able to join, I would love to have you. Our podcast, Demystifying Divinity, is a podcast that Jenny and I have, and we've had incredible feedback about the podcast. So we basically talk about spirituality, different things, ego death, shadow work, inner child work. We have wonderful guests that are coming in. It's just a very conversation type style podcast where we just chat about everyday life and spirituality. So there's a link down below. We are on Spotify and Apple. If you're interested to hearing more, just click below and you'll be taken to Spotify. And last but not least, we've created a coloring journal, manifesting coloring journal, that I was prompted to create with my guides. And it is filled with a whole bunch of mandalas for coloring in order to connect with your inner child and your creative expression. And it has accompanying channeled phrases and quotes in order to help you know yourself better. So if you're interested There's a link down below. They're on Amazon. And with that said, let's talk about this new moon. So, as I've mentioned before, the March 29th new moon and solar eclipse is all about breaking old cycles. Why is it important to break old cycles? Well, it's important because if we don't break old cycles, we're going to continue reliving our cycles. And if those cycles are of limiting nature, unless we break them, we're going to continue experiencing cycles of limiting nature. And you are here to express yourself to the fullest. And to the degree to which you express yourself will depend on how you limit yourself. So, breaking old cycles is basically breaking old limitations. And we all humans limit ourselves. It's just the way it goes. Unfortunately, most of the limitations that we have for ourselves are in our unconscious mind, which means it's in our unconscious programming. So we don't even know how we limit ourselves. To the degree of how much you limit yourself, you will then express yourself. So if we are limiting our potential because we believe in certain limiting things, we're not going to express ourselves fully. We're not going to be able to express our fullest potential. And we are here to express ourselves to our fullest potential because we are all walking potentials. You and I and everyone around is a walking potential. But if you've ever asked the question, why am I here? I have an answer for you. So if you are listening to this for the first time, or you've listened to this many times and you wonder, why am I here? If you are listening to this right now, that's you. You are a light bearer who holds the light and lights the path for others. The reason why you're here is because you're here to seed new level of consciousness. And in order for you to see new level of consciousness, you have to embody this higher consciousness, this new level of consciousness. So you are here to be the light bearer, which also means to light a path for others, which means you have to embody your light. You have to embody your divinity. You have to embody your godliness, whatever name or term you want to use. So that's why you're here. You're here to hold the light and light the path for others. How you do it, that's completely up to you. The best way to do it is to do it by leading by example. And the other part of the message is some people will follow you and some will fall behind. That's where they feel comfortable, and that is totally okay. Everyone is on their own unique individual journey. So if you are in a situation, and likely you have been or are right now, where the people you used to know, the people you used to hang around with, they're no longer resonating as much with you. You may not even know exactly why that is, but it's a distinct feeling that you have that you're just not vibrating. It's not that you're better, it's not that they're worse. You're just not vibrating on the same level. I don't like the word level. You're just not aligned. And what happens is when we begin to expand and everyone is on their own unique journey, if you are expanding, but those around you are not expanding at the same rate, then what's going to happen naturally is you're going to start growing apart. So during these times, many of you, and I have experienced this myself, will find yourself in a situation where the things you used to do are no longer resonating with you nearly as much, including the food you eat. Just be mindful that during this time you might experience losses, but it's not the type of losses where someone, for example, dies and goes on the other side. The message here is the losses that I am referring to is letting go of what no longer serves you. And when we let go of what no longer serves us, friend or situation, sometimes we have to go through a mourning time. We're going through a time of mourning because we're experiencing some sense of loss. It's also a loss of identity. And it's not unusual to go through a mourning process where you begin to shift and change your how you identify with yourself. We could call it ego death, we could call it many things, but you are basically shifting and changing in the way you see, view, and believe in yourself. And that allows you to expand yourself to higher consciousness. Let's talk about the ego death for a moment. Ego death doesn't mean that you die, obviously. It just means that some part of how you used to identify especially if it's in limiting ways, it's going to start slowly, sometimes not so slowly, to fall away, which means the way you used to identify with yourself is no longer vibing with you. So you are in a process of letting go of your own identity. And that can be a very confusing time for many people. Why? Because to let go of your identity is to change the relationship you have with your ego. And the ego hates nothing more than change. Ego does not like change because ego likes permanency, likes stability. And change is inevitable. So whenever we go through a lot of changes, especially massive changes like the ones we are going through right now, the way we identify ourselves, or the way you will begin to identify yourself, is going to change. And that's a natural part of progression. It's very natural to go through the process of ego death, which means to identify ourselves differently. And this is a natural part of transitioning to higher awareness. And that can feel very wobbly for a lot of people. It may spur questions such as, who am I? What do I believe in? What do I want in this life? Is this relationship good for me? Who am I on the inside? What do I believe? Because remember, what you believe, what you hold true and dear to you, is what's called your truth, and you will express your truth into the world. So if you're holding a lot of truths about yourself that are of limiting nature, you are naturally going to express yourself in limiting ways. We have apparently been under the umbrella of oppression for a very long time. Apparently, this new moon portal and solar eclipse is a time of stepping into the end of oppression times. Oppression is the opposite of expression. So the more we are oppressed, the less we will fully express. And we are moving from oppression to a fuller expression. And that requires identity change. How does it require identity change? Because how we hold ourselves back is very much tied to our identity. If you say to yourself, for example, I can't be something, then you're not going to be able to create it because your limited perception of you is going to drive your experience. Doesn't matter how much you want it, because you're not here to have wings in a human body. An example, if you say to yourself, I will never be rich, just a very understandable concept. If you say to yourself that you can't be rich, or if you believe deep inside that you can't be rich, then that becomes your truth. And anything you say to yourself as your truth is how you will communicate this truth to the world. And it's going to be expression of vibration, an expression of frequency. And as you know, based on the law of attraction, you can never experience something that you are not in alignment of. So if you are wanting to experience a lot of richness, a lot of opulence, a lot of abundance, then you have to shift your inner truth about you not being that or having that. And the belief that you can't do something or can't be something or can't have something is very much oppressive to your expression because you have no idea what you are capable of. Conceptually, maybe you do, but you're not wearing it. The ideas you hold about you are very much changing. Again, that's not an easy process to go through because it can be very confusing at times. So you will likely feel slightly confused over the next few days and weeks. This is the information that I'm getting. But the confusion is temporary. And like the dust is in the air, you can't see anything, and eventually the dust settles. So we are in this idea of there's a lot of dust being kicked up, and we can't really see anything because it's dust. It's dusty. You can't see anything. And when you're not able to see anything, then it doesn't feel very good. You feel like you're not in control of your environment. You don't know what's going on. It's confusion. Confusion is lack of stability. So a lot of people are feeling a lot of lack of stability right now on many levels, financially, emotionally, mentally. And what I'm being asked to share with you is that that is all part of the process. The confusion is all part of the process of humanity shifting to higher consciousness. Why? Because it is often in a state of confusion that we begin to ask really big questions like, who am I? What do I believe in? What do I see for myself versus what would I like to see for myself? And asking these big questions is very important because it forces us to seek for the answers on the inside, not on the outside, but on the inside. Because if you're seeking for these answers on the outside, then it's the outside telling you what you want to do, how you want to experience your life. You don't want the outside to tell you how you want to experience your life. You want to be in charge of how you experience your life. You may not be in charge of what the universe places in front of you, but you are in charge of how you experience whatever the universe places on you. I'm hoping that's making sense. You may not control your environment, but you have the power to experience your environment in a way that's appropriate for you. You may not always have a choice of what life gives you, but you always have a choice in how you approach it and how you deal with it. And thus, you have a choice on how you will experience whatever the universe brings to you. Okay? We are all going through a lot of challenges right now. That's probably not news to you. And the challenges are meant to help us grow. Every challenge offers an opportunity for growth. Sometimes we can see what the opportunity is while we're in the challenge, but oftentimes we cannot see the growth until we have moved through the challenge and observed the challenge from a different angle. So if you are being challenged in your life right now, know that this challenge is here to help you grow and evolve, not only as a human being, but also as a spirit. And not only are we doing this individually, we are doing this collectively. So the whole world is being challenged in various different ways to varying degrees. And these challenges are here to promote greater awareness, greater understanding. If you're experiencing a challenge in your life right now, and hopefully it's not a big challenge, whatever challenge that you are experiencing, your logical mind may not be able to understand what's in it for you because you may see it as bad. But from your soul's perspective, from the universe's perspective, this challenge is always offering you opportunities for growth. So, whatever you're going through right now, just know that this is a challenge for you to grow as a human being and also for you to grow as a soul, to expand your awareness, your consciousness as a soul. And if you look at your life, I'm sure you've had many challenges. And if you really look closely, you can probably pinpoint how you have grown from each challenge and what each challenge has given you in terms of a gift. So, although most people don't look at challenges as gifts, some do, it would be helpful if we see challenges as something that is actually helpful versus labeling as something bad or good. Because from the higher perspective, there is no such thing as good or bad. That's just a human understanding, that's a human concept, and that's perfectly okay. But from a higher perspective, it's all about experience. That's how the universe, God, source, knows itself. So again, if you're experiencing a challenge, know that you are growing through it. As you grow from it, you shift to a higher consciousness, to higher awareness. The more higher awareness you have, the more you are in charge of your own power, the more you are in your own power, the more you are an empowered being. So freedom of oppression. Another statement they gave me. Self-healing begins when one realizes they have the power to heal that which lies beyond their conscious awareness. So, what this is saying to me is that we all have an opportunity to heal on really deep levels. But in order to be able to heal something, we have to first know that something needs to be healed. And when I say healed, I'm talking about bringing things back to balance. When things are in balance, everything is perfect. It's when things are out of balance that's when we begin to have problems. And so, what this message to me means is that in order for us to heal something, we have to be aware of what it is that needs healing. And most of our awareness is in the unconscious. In other words, we are conscious of maybe 5% of what's going on within us. Most people are unconscious. And it doesn't mean that we have to become 100% conscious. That would actually be not a good thing. You don't want to become conscious of how every atom and cell moves in your body, but becoming more conscious in terms of what we think, what we believe, what we hold truth about ourselves and the world. When we have that in our awareness, then we can change our experience because our experience is relative to what we hold true within ourselves. So if your truth is that you are not a powerful being, you are not going to fully express and realize your power. That's just the way it is. You're going to hold yourself back. And if you're listening to this type of information, then you are here to know yourself, first and foremost, because you're here to be the light. But you're here to a path of greater realization. What does it mean to be realized, to be fully realized, to be that which you are, which is light, divine being, a powerful being, part of source, whatever that means to you. But essentially, to realize yourself is to to, to, ex, to express yourself to the fullest. Can I say it that way? It means to me is it's to allow yourself to express yourself to the fullest. Now I'm saying the word allow and it's being underlined. To allow myself to express myself to the fullest, which means we have to allow ourselves, which also means if we have to allow ourselves, we are not allowing ourselves right now to express to the fullest. Why wouldn't we want to do that? Why wouldn't we want to allow ourselves to express to the fullest? We wouldn't. The only reason why we wouldn't allow ourselves is if we didn't have a conscious awareness of how we actually don't allow ourselves, which is our limiting beliefs. So you are here in big way to see yourself beyond your limiting beliefs, to recognize yourself, to remember that your limitations are not you. Yes, you have body limitations, of course, but as far as your limitations in terms of what you think about yourself, you are, and what you're capable of, you are virtually limitless. The only thing that limits you is your human mind, is your human construct with a whole bunch of belief system, some of which are negating to your expression, which means these beliefs are not congruent with who you really are, because you are an expression of source and you are very powerful. It's just the nature of it. You are expression of source, which means you are very powerful. You are of source. Source is within you, just the way it is. But if you don't believe that, if you are afraid of it, for whatever reason, you don't hold that as your truth, you're not going to be able to benefit from all that power, from all that source has for you. So let's see what else I have here. That's a natural process of evolution. And so you will likely be letting go of some friends. You will likely be letting go of certain associations you have been connected to. You will likely let go of your jobs, maybe albeit reluctantly. And you will certainly be letting go of the limiting perceptions you've held about you, which means if you let go of limiting perceptions, you are shifting your relationship with the universe. And what does that mean? If you let go of limited perceptions, then you become much more unlimited. And when you embody being more unlimited, you embody being more open to all that the universe has to give you. And I always say the universe is abundant in everything, including lack, Lack. There's an abundance of lack in the universe. So if you have a limited perception that is rooted in lack, you will powerfully experience lack consciousness, and this lack consciousness will help you create limited experiences. You don't want to have limited experiences. You want to be as limited as you possibly can. That's the goal. So, what is this portal bringing us? I pulled a few cards just to kind of help me focus my energy. So here's what we're dealing with collectively. Sword of light, divine protection, cords cut, breakthrough energy. This is, to me, very symbolic of the Ace of Swords. New beginnings in terms of our thought processes, new ideas. I'm hearing new technology, and the technology is growing at a rate that's crazy right now. But this represents a lot of newness in terms of the thinking and in terms of the mind. Divine protection, cords cut, breakthrough energy, a lot of breakthrough moments, a lot of aha moments. So this is collectively. Collectively, we are waking up to the understanding of how the mind works. And in all reality, all is mind. But that's a different and separate conversation for another time. You are not here to prove yourself to anybody. You are here to prove yourself to you, which means you have an incredible ability to create very, very powerfully. And to the degree of how powerfully you create will be closely related to what you think and what you believe. And we are all shifting into higher consciousness. Everyone is on their own path. So some people are shifting quicker, some people are shifting slower, if I can use that analogy. But collectively, we are all shifting to higher understanding, which means if we're shifting to higher understanding, the old collective understanding, i.e., our thoughts, our beliefs, have to go. So collectively, we are in a process of dismantling old, rigid structures and beliefs. Why? Because they limit us. So if we are collectively going through it, you will also individually be going through it. Okay? Individually, what does this mean? Aligned with purpose, crossroads, no wrong path. We are here to first remember that we can choose. So first and foremost, to know that you have a choice. You may not have a choice in terms of what is in front of you, but you do have a choice in how you experience it and how you relate to it. Okay, so this is talking to me about shift of perceptions. Aligned with purpose. Remember the question I was saying at the very beginning that during the time of ego death, when we can't see very much or we're confused, we often ask the question, who am I? What am I here to do? We are in the process of aligning ourselves more with our higher purpose. What is the higher purpose? According to my guidance, our purpose is to love. It's that simple. It's really that simple. Not easy, but simple. To the degree to which we offer our love will depend on what we think and what we believe. If someone, for example, believes that they're not lovable, then they're going to hold themselves back. And here's the irony. You cannot not be lovable. In other words, the idea of you not being lovable is absurd, doesn't even exist. You may believe that, you may feel that about yourself, but that is not the truth. The highest truth is that you are loved no matter what, without conditions. Most people who will listen to this type of information will conceptually know that, but they may not necessarily feel it in their body. And we are moving to a space where we'll slowly but surely begin to feel this truth in our body, to feel this truth in our hearts, which means we have to open our hearts. And there is a saying that the longest trip you'll ever take is the one between your head and your heart. I think it's like, what, 6 or 7 inches? And it's the hardest. So we are collectively trying to move predominantly being in the head to being more in the heart space. Why? Because that's where love lives. It's in your heart. So we are being reminded that we are here to love. We are here to be love, which is who we are. And the more we remember that truth, the easier it will be for us to express ourselves in loving ways. Sounds reasonable to me. So you are likely someone who is learning how to open your heart to love more, to receive more. And remember, the type of love that I'm actually describing is not the type of love that most humans feel, because the type of love that I am describing is one that's completely unconditional. And I don't believe that humans, most, know what unconditional is. I have experienced unconditional love a couple times in my life from a being, and it was so powerful. I thought my body was going to burst and like, burst, literally combust, yeah, because it's frequency, and it to be to be loved so much actually hurt. It actually hurts to be loved so much, and without conditions. So dare I say that we are learning or hoping to learn how to love more without conditions. It's not an easy thing to do because we are conditioned to do certain things and believe certain things. But if you are listening to this, you are in the process of opening your own heart to recognize what is deep within you, which is, well, what's within you is source. Source is love. Love is love is unconditional. So you are here to remember that at the end of the day, you are spark of the divine, which is unconditional love. You can call it whatever you want, but that's what you are. As a human being, we generally don't remember that, but we are in the process of waking up from a dream. Human life is like a dream that we don't think is a dream. We believe it's real. And I was shown before I turned on the camera that basically when we cross over to the other side, we literally wake up from the dream. But this 3D dream is pretty real to us. But just because it feels real, it looks real, it sounds real, we are dreaming. That's a hard thing for the mind to grasp. That's okay. We don't have to grasp it just yet, but you're here to remember who you really are and what your purpose is. And you are spark of the divine, and you are here to love. It's that simple. You're here to love yourself, and you're here to hopefully love thy neighbor, as they say. The question that's being posed right now, can you learn to love your enemy? Can you learn to love your enemy? I don't know. But what if your enemy was actually your best friend on the other side? What if your enemy in your 3D life is your best friend, and this best friend is playing an enemy so that you can experience something in your life? Perhaps so that you can experience how not to be a victim. So you are here very powerfully creating an experience whereby you feel or think of yourself as a victim. And I want to be very emphatic about this. I am not saying that people have not been victimized or that they don't continue to be victimized. I am not saying that at all. Everyone has, to some degree, some way more than others. But what I am saying is that if we stay in a victimized state, then we are constantly being the victim. And it looks like we are shifting from being the victim mentality to being the one in power. And that's a pretty big shift. So I know what victimhood mentality feels like. It's where I come from. I was a complete victim for a very long time. until I began to work on myself and realize that I create my own experiences. And the more I stay in my victimhood state, the less I will experience what I want. So I've decided to quote unquote take my power back. And what this has allowed me to do and experience is a life that I never thought was possible because I was holding myself hostage. I was holding myself a prisoner. And we all do it. It's not a good or bad thing, it's just a limiting thing. So if you in your life have dealt with victimhood mentality, or maybe you are stuck a little bit in your victimhood mentality, or if you are a full fledged victim, likely you wouldn't be listening to this, then don't judge yourself for it, but just recognize that staying in that victimhood mentality is probably not going to serve you based on what it is that you want. So we have to somehow heal old wounds that have to do with us being victimized. So if you are holding on to a wound, a pain that hasn't been processed, that hasn't been transformed, that hasn't been shifted, because at some point in your life you were victimized, then you likely want to shift that consciousness. You want to, as they say, let that go. You want to heal it. And again, one powerful way of healing is through expressing emotions. So, again, if you're interested in releasing a lot of emotional baggage, breathwork in general is amazing for that. But if you're wanting to express or transform, move some of your old vibration, some of your old energies, then breathwork would be a great thing for you. But anyway, this is a time of a lot of expression and a lot of purging. A lot of people that I know have been sick. They're purging a lot from their bodies. I want to call it an ascension symptom. That doesn't mean that you're not sick, doesn't mean that you don't have a cold or you don't have some kind of thing you're dealing with. But what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing is a lot of heart space that's clearing, a lot of throat chakra, a lot of nose clearing, because the higher energy is moving through our bodies, and it's collapsing the old paradigm systems. And while it's collapsing old paradigm systems, old unprocessed feelings and emotions will come up. This may show itself as the body clearing itself. Aches, pains, headaches, dizziness. I've had few clients ask me what's going on. They're feeling dizzy, and it's just an energy moving through the body. But of course, I always say, if you're concerned, always go and check that with your doctor. You want to have your good head on your shoulders. So likely you are in the process of expressing a lot, or you will be expressing over the next 3 to 4 months. And when I say expressing, it's purging out old energy. So you might become sick, you might be coughing a lot, you might be clearing your throat a lot. The best thing that you can do is make sure that you don't suppress it, because we want to express it. We want to move energy through our bodies. Complete surrender. Surrender is hard. I'll be the first one to tell you. Surrender does not mean giving up. Surrender means I let go of control. This is a very big theme I'm noticing with my clients, and I feel it true everywhere, collectively. But we are needing to release control, not all control, but at least some control, so that we can be more in the flow. Why is that important? Because if we're trying to control too much, then we're creating a lot of resistance, and resistance never feels good. So if you're feeling a lot of resistance in your life, if you're resisting change, ask yourself if it's you trying to control your environment, if it's you trying to control the change that's transpiring, because change is inevitable. But when you surrender to change, when you let go of some of the control, then you actually become, well, not only do you become much more in the flow, which is so much easier, but you actually begin to feel more in charge. Here's the interesting thing, and I found this very personally. When you let go of control, it doesn't mean that you let go of control. When you let go of control, you still have the ability to control, but you don't feel the need to control nearly as much. So it's not that the universe is saying, give up all control. You need certain control in your life. Absolutely. But getting to a space, to a state of mind, when we are so much more in the flow, where we don't feel the need to control nearly as much. And I practice this all the time. It's not an easy thing to do. But when I consciously release control, everything just aligns. And I've heard this from so many people that when they begin to release control, and it's hard at the very beginning because we're used to wanting to control everything. When we begin to release some of the control, things naturally just fall into place. It is such an easier way to live. If you've had experiences with letting go of control and noticing how things just come to you, just comment down below because that's a big one for people. People are afraid of losing control. But again, it's not about giving up control completely. It's about getting to a space when we're so much more in the flow and you don't feel as much need to control, not nearly as much. We're also being asked to no longer reject our emotions. Many people are very mechanical. Most people live in their heads. A lot of people suppress their feelings and emotions. And when we suppress feelings and emotions, that's an energy that gets stuck in the body and has nowhere to go. And when the energy is stuck in the body, and it's always meant to flow, when it's stuck in the body, it can start to create physical problems. If a feeling or emotion is unexpressed and it has no outlet, it will begin to create havoc inside of the body. And that will affect us physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. So we are being asked to be courageous and to no longer suppress our emotions nearly as much. To start to feel them again can feel a little bit overwhelming. In fact, it is overwhelming because we're not used to just allowing our emotions to move through. We tend to hold back, especially if these feelings or emotions don't feel particularly good. If you have a lot of stored trauma in your body and you haven't been able to release it, transform it, or let it go, then that is sitting inside of you. And naturally, you will not want to have that feeling with you all the time. So you'll just suppress it. But suppressing, it doesn't do any good because it always acts as a trigger. So notice what's coming up in your life right now, and especially over the next 3 to 4 weeks, 3 to 4 months. Notice your triggers and notice what sort of feelings or emotions are being triggered for you at this particular time. Why? Because it is during these times that it is a lot easier for us to see what is our inner story. In other words, your trigger is a whole bunch of information that tells you something about you. And there is a story always attached to a trigger. So by observing our triggers, we can learn tremendously what is our story. We can begin to be more conscious of what is our story. And we all live our inner stories. And everyone has a story. Some stories are more complicated than others. But the message that I want to say is the more you hold on to unexpressed feelings and emotions, which is an energy, and you're not able to express it, the more it's going to be harder for you to deal with the energy that is coming, because the higher frequency will uproot the old energies and they will come up to the top. There's just no way around it. So if you're feeling emotionally charged, if you're feeling a lot of emotions over the next little while, if you're emotional and you have no idea what's going on, it is likely because you are expressing some old energies and these energies are wanting to move through you. You may also find yourself being very much in your head, overthinking. But the best way to deal with that is just to become the observer of your own thoughts, which means to be mindful, to know what's in your mind. The energy that's supporting us is actually the energy of realization. Number 37, right here, which marks an end of a cycle. It comes to a number 10. And the energy of realization says this: the frequency of realization supports the internal process of becoming aware of our heart-centered truth, as well as the external process of becoming our highest expression in the world. Okay. This is the energy that's helping us. There's a lot of throat clearing, heart chakra, your third and second chakra. So predominantly, and also, yeah, so the root chakra, I'm just looking at the colors. Root chakra, sacral chakra, your solar plexus, which is the ego, and also the heart and the throat. We're doing a lot of clearing right now. So if you're able to, as you are going through the process of clearing, be kind to yourself. Maybe go get a massage. Maybe go for a walk. Maybe go for a swim. Nature is amazing at helping us process feelings and emotions because nature is naturally very healing. So being in nature is very healing. Gardening, if you're into gardening and, you know, playing with soil, being in nature, Mother Earth, connecting with Mother Nature, very, very, very healing. Take a breathwork class. Do something to help you move to help you move the energy, to help you move that energy out of your body. And as you are going through this, can feel uncomfortable, because nobody wants to feel all these feelings and emotions coming up, especially if we're used to kind of suppressing them. But it's critically important for us to know that suppressing our feelings and emotions is no longer an option. It's just not going to serve us. It's not going to serve us anymore. How you express your feelings and emotions, that's up to you. If you're feeling a lot of anger coming up, I wouldn't suggest you go and punch somebody in the face. That would not be a good way of expressing your anger. But you can take a breathwork class where at the end I ask you to scream into a pillow. You can go kickboxing, you can go running, you can have some kind of a physical activity to process some of that anger. So you might experience some bouts of anger coming up, and you might not even know exactly why you're angry, but you were just processing. Thank you. You're processing old energy. The other thing I was just being told is that many of you who are listening to this are also here to process collectively for the entire humanity. So you come with a vessel that is equipped in order to be able to process not only your feelings and emotions, not only your stuck energy, but also the energy from the collective. I don't know exactly how it works. Kind of sort of makes sense, but that's what I'm here to say, which means that you are probably someone who is fairly intuitive and fairly sensitive. The other thing I want to say is that the sensitivity is on the rise. So if you are someone who is sensitive already, you will likely be feeling extra sensitive, which means it's a really good time to take care of your body, have boundaries and things like that, drink lots of water, feel a lot more because we're becoming much more feelers. We are becoming more feelers right now. So most of us are thinkers. We're becoming more feelers. So we are shifting from the intellect, from predominantly the intellect, we're switching into our bodies. We are becoming much more united with our bodies. Most people are disconnected from their bodies and they don't even know it. A lot of the people I deal with, including myself in the past, do not feel safe being in the body. That usually comes from some sort of trauma, often from other lifetimes. We carry karma from other lifetimes in order to hopefully clear it in this lifetime. And karma, in my understanding, it's not good or bad. It's karma is simply patterns, cause and effect. So there's a lot of clearing that's happening, which is pretty apropos for the new moon because we want, as we clear, we're creating more space. So we are energetically clearing so that we can energetically embody more of the higher frequency. You might be experiencing runny nose. You might be experiencing crying. There's a lot of emotional release that is taking place. Just take good care of yourself and just know that this too shall pass. And once you move through this space, there's going to be this clearing. So we are doing a lot of emotional clearing. Anything you can do to aid that process would be very helpful. And please make sure you drink lots of water and try not to suppress your feelings or emotions. Sometimes try to not even make sense of it because you might be feeling things you're like, I have no idea why I'm feeling this because you are likely processing something that's unconscious. And by the way, you don't have to be conscious of what you're processing in order to move that through you. We process through dreams as well. So you may be processing things you don't understand. You're either processing from the unconscious or you are also processing collectively. So try not to make sense of everything. If you're all of a sudden feeling upset and nothing has happened, try not to figure out why you're upset so much. Just allow the feeling to move through you. It's all energy moving through you. Okay. So I think that's what I have. I hope this was helpful. Do join me on April 18th for the breathwork session. I love doing breathworks, just absolutely love it. There's so much healing that happens in the breathwork session, mind boggling. If you're interested, again, it's only $9.99. I made it available pretty much to everybody. So if you're interested, that link is below. So hopefully I will see you then. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care of yourself and Happy New Moon.